Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Now, even though in this video I'm going to be talking about enemies, I'm going to redirect your mind to something positive. And when you think enemy, you say, well, how is that possible? How is that possible? Well, I'm going to show you how very possible it is. On this channel and on the Watchman Reports channel, in the past, we've talked about this particular passage, how the Most High confused our enemies. So I want to give it to you where it's not tied up in some 2 or 3 hour message that we're giving. I want to bring this part directly to you. And then after that, I'm going to show you a clip of exactly what I'm talking about, okay? How can you confuse your enemies? Now, right now, we are in the land of our captivity. And what we see most of the time, before I get into this passage that I'm going to read, most of the time what we see is when something tragic happens to one of our people at the hands of one of our enemies, the George Zimmermans, the police shootings, and all these other things. You see us out marching, crying, begging, saying, we shall overcome, no justice, no peace, the same chants over and over and over again. I consider those vain babblings, okay, because they amount to nothing in many cases, because we're begging for peace from people who have been known to do these things for, I'm going to say, centuries, okay, even longer than that. But for us here in this country, in the land of our captivity, this is how they brought us over here. They didn't bring us over here in peace, right? And so we're begging them for peace. We're not doing what the scripture instructed us to do, okay? I'm going to read this passage and I'm going to show you how our enemies can be confused to the point where the Most High's judgment will deal with them. We don't have to lift a finger. We don't have to do a thing, right? Other than what I'm about to say here right now. How can our enemies be confused? Listen to this, and then afterward, I'm going to show you a clip of exactly what I'm talking about, because that clip is so very powerful in showing or demonstrating what we can do to where these people will be like, what's going on with them? What's wrong with them? They'll say, what's wrong with you, right? Not all of them, because as you see in the crowd, you'll see some of them who have joined in with us, right? But you'll have those that are higher up, the ones that are in position. They'll be like, what's going on with those people? We just did this to them and this is their response, okay? But one thing I want you to remember too, the scripture says that Yah inhabits the praises of his people. So let me read this passage to you. It is in 2 Chronicles. And those of you who don't believe in the Bible, please just sit through this for a minute. I promise you it's going to be worth it. 2 Chronicles 20, verses 20 through 27. It says, and they rose early in the morning, and they went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Most High Yah, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper. And when he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto Yah, and that should praise the beauty of holiness. And they went out before the army, and to say, praise Yahuwah, for his mercy endureth forever. And when they began to sing and to praise, Yahuwah set ambushments against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, and which were come against Judah, and they were smitten. Now these are all of our enemies that I just named here. That was Ammon, Moab, and Seir. Okay? The Most High set up ambushes for them. Okay? And they were smitten. Now let me finish. It says, for the children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir, and utterly to slay and destroy them. And when they had made an end of the inhabitants of Seir, everyone helped to destroy another. And when Judah came toward the watchtower in the wilderness, they looked unto the multitude, and behold, they were dead bodies fallen to the earth, and none escaped. So all of our enemies, it was 3 groups of enemies that came together, okay? And when they all met up, they killed each other. And so when Judah came, Judah is our people that have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. When Judah came, they just looked and they just saw a bunch of dead enemies, and they hadn't lifted a finger. Okay? Now, and when Jehoshaphat and his people came and took away the spoil of them, they found among them in abundance both riches with the dead bodies and precious jewels, which they stripped off for themselves, more than they could carry away. And they were 3 days in gathering of the spoils. It was so much. Wow. And on the 4th day, they assembled themselves in the valley of Barakach, for there they blessed Yahuwah. Therefore, the name of the same place was called the valley of Barakcha unto this day. Then they returned, every man of Judah and Jerusalem, and Jehoshaphat in the forefront of them, to go again to Jerusalem with joy, for Yahuwah had made them rejoice over their enemies. Praise confused the enemy. While the enemies were gathering together to try to smite Israel, Israel was off praising the Most High. Judah specifically was off praising the Most High Yah. And as they were singing and praising the Most High Yah, the Most High sent an ambush against our enemies. And so all of that praise that was going forth to Yah, the scripture says Yah inhabits the praises of his people, right? So all of that singing and praise that got the enemy all confused in their head. They didn't know what the heck was going on. So they began to ambush and kill each other. They killed one another. And as the scripture says here, all of their dead bodies had fallen to the earth and none escaped. And so I'm going to roll this clip, this very short clip. And imagine if we gathered on the streets instead of begging for justice and peace, instead of saying we shall overcome, that sad song, instead of doing all of these things and saying and chanting no justice, no peace, what if we began to do what the Israelites in this passage did, which was praise to Most High Yahuwah? That praise would confuse our enemies, and the Most High would make us rejoice over our enemies. I'm going to roll the clip, and shalom to you, family.
What are they doing?
They singing the blood.
They ain't never doing that with their hands.
Sing on.
They got the corner.
We're on it.
But they didn't hold it in the corner.
Missing it.
They done took off.
Come on, cut.
How do we do it though? How do we do it? How do we know it though? That's just all my life.
sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.